Arise, queens. This is the All Queens Army, where women are provided with the tools you need to overcome your fears, face your flaws, and experience breakthroughs as you develop self-esteem so strong you emanate royalty. Now, for your host and commander of the All Queens Army, Breizy Time.
Hey queens, it's your girl, Breizy T. Oh yeah, it's season 3, for the All Queens Army. Talk big but my bank account match it. Come on, queens. Oh, we gonna have a ball this season, queens. And they mouth, now they gagging. Ow! Hey, queens! Oh, yes, baby. Super duper excited about season 3 premiere. Welcome you to the All Queens Army podcast. This is your girl, your host, Breizy Time. I am here today with another dope episode for the queens. It is another beautiful, dope, motivational Monday. So you queens know that I am here to motivate the shit out of you, okay? So I'm super duper excited. We are in season 3. Who knew that when I started this little old podcast that we would be 3 seasons in? Yes, ma'am. So again, welcome queens. If it's your first time here, I'm so excited that you're here. So excited that you found the All Queens Army podcast. Before we get started, I want to jump into a couple really quick things, okay? And then I am going to motivate the shit out of you, all right? But let me jump into a couple really quick things and bring you up to speed. First things first, All Queens Army has a brand new website. The queen community is growing. There are more queens than ever. There are more queens who are participating. There are more queens on our Instagram page. There are more queens on Facebook. There are even more queens getting the All Queens Army emails every week. So we had to do a nice, wonderful upgrade to the website. Now, if you follow us on any of the social media platforms, you already know this because we announced it a little while ago. Second thing, when we launched the new website, we also launched a new motivational blog. So not only do we podcast and be in your ear, we're also now on your eyeball. So we have a new motivational blog. A new blog drops every single Thursday at 6 a.m. It's motivational, just like the podcast. It's motivational and raw because you queens know I'm a little raw. I like to say little curse words every now and again. I keep it real. I keep it 100, but I'm super duper compassionate and super duper in love with you and your growth. So that's what the blog also will do, is help you in your growth, help feed your self-esteem, help motivate you to get from one day to the next after dealing with all the tough shit in your life. So make sure on Thursday mornings, grab your coffee, grab your tea, whatever it is that you drink, sit back, read the motivation, and get yourself going and get yourself pumped up, okay? Third thing is, at the end of the last season, season 2, I promised you queens that I was going to create some e-courses for you because most of our podcast episodes are about 30 minutes long, and the things that we come here to get motivated about and some of the wonderful suggestions that I share with you queens about how to resolve certain things in your life, the 30 minutes just isn't enough to really delve into how to make these changes in your life. So I created some e-courses for you queens. I've released the first e-course. It is available and it is free. Take some time to go and take that e-course. I created it with the intention of you queens being able to do it in your own time and at your own pace. Because again, in the podcast, I'm definitely here to motivate you queens, but it's not enough time for me to really sit and go into every single detail of what it is that you need to do. So I'm helping you put action behind some of the things that we're talking about on the podcast. So super excited about that. Last thing is, go to allqueensarmy.com, click on the subscribe tab, and subscribe to the All Queens Army podcast. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes, okay? So you can choose whichever one of those platforms is your favorite and subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new episode comes out, okay? Okay, so queens, with that being said, let's get to the topic of today. We're going to talk about how to overcome the fear of rejection. Why is it that I want to talk about the fear of rejection, especially on our premiere episode? Because rejection is one of the most debilitating fears that we can experience, queens. And once it roots itself into your life, the damage that it causes is to the foundation of your self-esteem. So once it literally sets in and you've allowed that fear of rejection to take over the way you handle things, the way you approach things, the way you do things, it starts to chip away at your self-esteem. Now, there was a lot of different topics that we talked about last season where I said, hey, it's going to mess up your self-esteem, or it's because you have some issues with your self-esteem. And season 3 is going to mimic the very same tone, because what I'm learning about you queens, the more I talk to you, the more I engage with you, the more you guys are DMing me and sending me emails and commenting on Facebook and social media. And I'm really starting to get to know you queens. I'm really learning that where we have the biggest challenge amongst us as women is our confidence, our self-esteem, our self-worth, and our value. It is very, very damaged for a lot of us, including me. We really have to work on it. I mean, because ladies, we all know we're the shit, but we don't carry ourselves like we are all the time. Okay. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. A lot of the episodes this season are going to revert back to what low self-esteem and a lack of confidence, and not even low self-esteem all the time. Sometimes it's just bruised self-esteem, and sometimes it's just bruised and withered confidence. Okay. Sometimes it's not that it's not there. Sometimes it's just a little bruised, and we have to learn how to heal from that. That's what we're going to be doing this season. So let's talk about this debilitating fear of rejection and how it's impacting your life. And then, of course, queens, you know, at the end of the episode, I'm going to give you some ways for you to get over your fear of rejection and overcome that fear, because it's a debilitating fear. I want to say this first about the fear of rejection, because I've heard someone say it recently and it was a little confusing, and I want to make sure that we clear this up. Fear of rejection is not something that you are born with, nor is low self-esteem or bruised self-esteem or lack of confidence. That's something that developed over time as a result of your experiences, your inner voice, and your inner voice is typically developed from your upbringing. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the things that can happen to you in your life that, one, you may be either experiencing now or could potentially experience if you don't resolve your fear of rejection. So here's the first thing. The fear of rejection can prevent you from expressing how you feel. Do you queens ever realize that you sometimes hold back saying how you feel or telling someone what's going on with you because you are afraid of what they're going to say, or you are afraid that they may not accept it, or that you're even afraid that they may not give a shit, which is even more hurtful. So a lot of times when you prevent yourself or you're stopping yourself from expressing yourself, it's from a fear of rejection. Here's the other thing. If you continue to operate under fear of rejection, you could rely on other people's opinions about you and care a little bit too much about what other people think about you and how they perceive you. Now, if that's what you're doing, queens, you are seeking validation from other people, from outside situations, from outside circumstances, and that all stems from bruised or low self-esteem. Here's another one. You could be overcompensating in your relationships and people pleasing, finding it difficult to say no. That's also rooted in a fear of rejection, because sometimes you feel like if I say no, if I don't do what this person wants me to do, they're going to get upset. Or sometimes you feel like you're overcompensating, you're doing more than what's necessary. Sometimes when you go above and beyond, you actually compromise too much of yourself, and you don't want to do that, especially if you're doing it because you're afraid that if you don't do it, that you're not going to get the validation from the person, you're not going to get the love from the person, you're not going to get the attention from the person, whatever it is that you're trying to exchange your deed for, you're not going to get. And that's for fear. It's a fear of rejection. You're trying to get something from the person, from the situation, from the relationship, from the scenario, and you're exchanging what it is that you're giving in overcompensation, or in giving because you don't want to say no, for what it is that they are going to give you in return. And you have to be careful with that, queens. Okay, queens, so here's another one. And this one is actually a big one in my opinion, because I see people do this as well. If you have a fear of rejection, you can become an easy target for manipulation and attract people who will likely take advantage of you. Now, the reason why is when you have a fear of rejection, the energy that you're giving off is an energy that lacks confidence. And there are some people out there who are just yucky people. They manipulate people. They take advantage of people. They take advantage of people who they know have some insecurities or some things that they're dealing with. And they literally can smell those insecurities like a shark can smell blood or see blood. I don't know how the hell they find the blood, but you know what I mean. Like a shark is attracted to blood. That's how people who are manipulative and who are controlling and people who will take advantage of you and take your kindness for weakness, people like that with those type of agendas who are looking for someone like you who may have a little bruise or some little bumps in their self-esteem or in their confidence, they see that in you. They're literally attracted to you and they will attach themselves to you and they will pretend that they love you, like you. They'll say whatever and do whatever it takes to make sure that you feel like they love you, they're into you, they want the best for you, when really really and truthfully, that's not what it is. They know that you are a people pleaser. They know that you want to do things for people because you're a nice person. They know that you're the type of person that would give the shirt off of your back. They know it about you. They can feel it. They can sense it. It's in your energy, queen. So you have to be careful about attracting people like that. And again, I know it doesn't sound like that's rooted in the fear of rejection, but it is. It's rooted in the fear of rejection because you're likely to not create a boundary for someone like that to cross. It's not to say that you're soft. It's not to say that you're a pushover. Okay, so you just have to be careful, queens, all right? Okay, so here's another one. If you continue to operate under fears of rejection, you can find it very difficult to find and feel happiness because your happiness starts to become dependent on someone else's opinion or someone else's thought of you or someone else's perception of you. Be careful of that, queens. Again, this is another one that may not sound like it comes from a fear of rejection, but it does. When you're holding back on who you are, when you're holding back on asking for what you want, when you're holding back and you're preventing yourself from standing your ground and saying what you deserve and demand because this is what you need for you to feel what you need to feel, if you ever have held yourself back from expressing those things, it is from a fear of rejection because something about the person that you're going to be talking to is making you afraid that they're not going to accept what you're saying or they're not going to give you what you want. So you rather just not say it, okay? Because you're avoiding the hurt. You're avoiding being let down. So again, be careful with some of these types of things, queens. Okay, I think I have two more examples. If you operate under the fear of rejection, it can prevent you from achieving personal and professional goals because you are afraid to go after them, afraid of the rejection, afraid of not getting the job, afraid of someone not thinking you're good enough, afraid that you don't have the right qualifications, afraid that they're going to choose someone else over you, afraid that someone's going to tell you that there's a more qualified person, just afraid of the rejection period. Then the last one is if you operate under the fear of rejection, it could prevent you from being your true self and cause you to live behind a mask. Honey, listen, I'm about to preach, baby, because this is one that I can relate to 100%. The reason that this one made the list is because I lived this. I lived this when I was working for a company probably about maybe 10 years ago now. I was going through like almost an identity crisis in my life where I was so busy trying to fit in with a crowd of people because I was trying to get my career growing and moving and all of that good stuff. And in my quest to continue to grow my career and advance myself at the job, I started to lose myself. I started to snuff out more of who I truly am and started to pick up personality traits and characteristics of the people that I saw at the top of that company because I wanted to get there. And honey, let me tell you something. While that's not all bad, sometimes you learn good things from doing that, from looking at someone who is where you want to be and picking up some of their characteristics. But it's not all good. It's not all good, especially when you start to snuff out who you really are, where it gets to the point where you're putting on a mask to go to work and I'm no longer Bree anymore. I'm someone else. And when you do that, you lose yourself, especially if you continue to do that over long periods of time. And I can honestly say I almost lost myself. And when I say lost myself, I mean lost who I am, lost who I am as a person, the way I talk, the way I walk, the way I dress, the way I express myself, my swag, my drip, all of that. I lost that. My edginess, my sassiness, even my intelligence from a certain perspective. I started to even dim my light sometimes because I didn't want to intimidate some of the other folk, if y'all know what I mean. My energy was a little too strong for them. Some of my words wasn't pronunciated the right way. They wanted me to say it with a certain twang, honey, and I say it with a little bit of a hood spin, and it was too much for them. And I started to lose myself. Baby, I could preach on that all day long. I'm gonna cut it short because I don't want to be here for an hour in y'all ear, but I'm telling you, queens, be very, very careful about putting on a mask and pretending to be something that you're not, because if you do it for too long, you will lose yourself. Queens, if you lose yourself, you are actually robbing the people on this planet of your gift. You were made on this planet to share what you have. You were made specifically to share your gift. There is no one else who is you and no one else who can be like you. There is no one else who can mimic you. You're the only person who is you, who has the talents that you have, who has the gift that you have, and no one else can do it the way you can do it. And so, honey, when God placed all of us here, he implanted a gift in every single one of us. And he wanted us to share that gift with the rest of the world, with our family, with our friends, with our coworkers, with wherever it is that we set foot, honey. He wants us to share that gift. And if you put on a mask every single day, you are not sharing the natural genuineness that God gave you. You're not naturally sharing you. You're sharing some manufactured bullshit that you think is what someone else wants to see. And I'm here here to tell you, queens, fuck that. Be you with the flaw in everything. The same brokenness that you came to press play to listen to this podcast, be that person. Be that vulnerable, strong ass queen. Don't ever put a mask on, because you are robbing yourself of giving your light to people that you're supposed to be blessing. And you're robbing the people who need the blessing that you're supposed to be giving. Don't ever change who you are. If you need to play a role very, very temporarily to get where you need to be, baby, it may not be where you're supposed to be going. You never have to be a different person to get where you're supposed to be going. If your path is ordained to take you to a certain place, you already are the strong ass queen right now. You're already her. You don't need to dress up a different way. You don't need to act a different way. You don't need to talk a different way. You don't need to do any of that shit. Just be yourself and feel comfortable in who you are and feel confident in who you are. Okay, so y'all get the point, right? Because baby, I could preach all day about that, because that topic right there is near and dear to my heart, honey, because me having to pull myself out of that hole that I created, me having to take that mask off, baby, it was difficult because I didn't know who I was anymore. And I had to search and fight to find who Breizy was again, because I didn't know who the hell I was. I worn that damn mask for so long. And just so you know, I quit that damn job. I quit that job with no backup plan, with no nothing. I quit that job and started my own business. Now, I failed like a mug in my business, but I got out of there. I broke free of that. And I started to rebuild, and I started to learn who I am again. So again, point is, after all that shit, okay? Point is, queen, do not put on a mask and hide behind a mask because you're afraid of the rejection of being you. If someone rejects the true you, fuck them. Okay, now let's move on. Let's talk about how to take your life back to overcome this fear of rejection. So now I'm going to give you some tips. Let's go ahead and talk about how to overcome the fear of rejection. How do you take your life back and overcome the fear of rejection so that it doesn't start causing some of the problems that we just mentioned previously, so that those things don't manifest in your life and you don't have to experience that crap, because nobody wants to go through that, okay? So here's the first thing that you can do. I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to get over this shit. Here's the first thing you can do. First things first is do some soul searching. Queens, you're going to hear me say soul searching a lot in season 3. You probably heard me mention it a couple times in season 1 and 2, but in season 3, I'm going to say it even more. And what soul searching is you taking a moment to take some time to yourself in a quiet space on a day where you literally have maybe 30, 40 minutes to yourself, where there are no interruptions, no phone, no television, no children. If you have to get up super duper early in the morning, great. If you have to stay up late when everyone else goes to sleep, great. However you do it, whenever you can find that time, get a journal and just allow yourself to go into whatever it is that you're trying to overcome. In this instance, in this situation, we're talking about the fear of rejection. So I want you queens to think about, what was it that first caused you to feel hesitant about going after something? What was it? Okay. Most of the times the fear of rejection is created from a traumatic experience, some kind of trauma that you experienced at some point in your life. Most of the time it's when you were very young. Sometimes it could be when you're a little bit older, but here are some examples of some of the things that could have created that initial fear. Were you constantly compared to other people? If you grew up where you were constantly compared to a sibling, to a cousin, to somebody, sometimes when you feel constantly compared, it makes you feel like who you are is not being accepted. And the lack of acceptance from parents or whomever was a part of your life when you were growing up, when you were in that age, in that stage where your self-esteem was being crafted, if someone rejected who you were or who you thought you were or who you were trying to become or what you were trying to express during those years, a lot of times what happens is they stunted your growth and your maturity in that specific aspect of your life because you didn't feel accepted. So think about that, queens. Think about when it is that you felt that who you are was no longer acceptable or accepted. At what point in your life did someone make you feel that way? And also it's good to identify who that was, who did that to you. And we're not identifying this to make a person feel bad, to look back and say, oh my God, this was such a horrible situation, or my mom was terrible, my dad was shitty, my sister was crap. No, it's just to identify for you to know, because you're going to need to know that before you do the second step. So just think about that. Was there a trauma situation that you can remember? It could be a situation where you were made to feel guilty guilty or shamed for something? Did you ever go through something like you were made to feel guilty or you were made to feel ashamed of what you said, of who you are, of how you felt? Think about that, queens. These are just some questions that'll help you jog your memory, because in an effort to survive, we bury those memories and we bury those thoughts and we pretend that they didn't happen. And that's why I say do some soul searching, because it takes for you to really, really focus on your upbringing and remembering emotions and feelings and things that could have happened that you've snuffed and you've buried very deeply. So it takes some time to uncover that stuff. It takes some time to peel back each layer of who you are that you've put over top of that to cover it up. It takes time to get down into that nitty gritty again. So I want you to take some time, like really take this serious, queens, and take some time to do this, okay? Could it have been that you were passed over for someone else by your parents or by a spouse or anybody, a coach, whoever, where you just felt rejected? It was a trauma situation. It really hurt your feelings. It cut you to the core. When those trauma types of things happen and it cuts you to your core, it literally stunts you right there. It's like, oh shit, I never want to do that again. I never want to feel that again. I never want to experience that again because it hurts so bad. And that's what trauma is. It's literally like you are jarred. You were hurt so bad that you just are afraid. You never want to do that shit again. And that's how fears are created. And specifically this fear, the fear of rejection. But I'm telling you, queens, we're at a point in our lives, all of us, where we have to learn how to get over these types of things, because this is debilitating. This shit is holding you back from some stuff that you deserve. Okay, so we have to figure out how to deal with this. All right, here's another one. So after you do that first part of the exercise, which is the soul searching and the identifying why it is you fear rejection, what caused it? What was the traumatic thing that happened that caused you to start fearing the rejection? So use some of those questions that I just gave you to jog your memory so that you can identify your specific situation, because everybody's situation is totally different. The second thing that I want you to do is identify what it is that you want. When you really think about your life, and this could be in any aspect, this could be in a relationship aspect, this could be family, this could be a job or a career or a business or purchasing a house or wanting to move, any goal that you have, just think about it. Identify what it is that you want. And then once you identify what you want, a sub bullet, why is that thing important to you? Why is it important what you want? I'll tell you one of the things that I want, just to give you an example. What I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. That's what I want. The second part, sub bullet. Well, why is that important to me? It's important to me because I want the freedom to be able to create what I want to create. Now, here's the second sub bullet of this question. The question again was identify what you want. The first sub bullet was why is what you want important to you? Here's the second sub bullet. What is keeping you from getting it? What is it? Why haven't you gone after it? And if you have gone after it, why didn't it work out? Identify that. I'll answer that question just to keep up with the consistency of where I'm going with this. So the second bullet point is what's keeping me from the thing that I want? And for me, what's keeping me from full-time entrepreneurship is the lack of consistency. I hate saying that shit to y'all because I feel like I literally have said this shit every other episode. Like, if y'all don't know me by now, I don't know what to say. Queens, you do the same thing. Go ahead and identify what's keeping you from getting or achieving what it is that you want. Why isn't it happening? If you've actually attempted it, then why didn't it come to fruition? What happened? The third thing is write down a solution for what it is that you need to do in order to get it. Okay, so here's the overcoming part. What is it that you do need to do to get it? So in order to continue with the consistency of this, I will answer this question. What do I have to do to become a full-time entrepreneur? I have to plan out all of the things that need to be done and be consistent and hold myself accountable to getting the things done that I need to do for my business. And I need to do that every single day. That's what I need to do. So I want you queens to now write down what it is that you need to do. There are some people who are going to say, because I've had people say this to me before when I've talked about this topic. There are people who are going to say, I don't know what to do, Bree. You say, how do I overcome it? Well, if I knew how to overcome it and I knew how to make it happen, then I would have done that already. Well, here's a suggestion for the people who may not know what to do. If you don't know how to answer question number 3, let me help you. Go to Google and type in exactly what it is that you want and type the question, how do I ... How do I start a business? How do I become a millionaire? How do I? Go and do the research. Or here's another suggestion. If there is someone who already has what it is that you want, ask them how they did it. Also, you can go to Amazon or you can go to a bookstore and you can find a book on how to do it. how to overcome it, how to achieve it. There are tons and tons and tons and tons of resources out there, queens, to teach you how to do anything you want. I swear to goodness, YouTube, you can damn near learn how to build a goddamn house on YouTube. Be resourceful. Remember, the things that you want, no one's going to hand it to you on a silver platter. So you've got to be invested in learning how to get and do what you want. Okay, so now here's number 4. Once you have your list of the thing that you, or the things, could be plural, that you need to do in order to get what you want, here's where the overcoming the fear comes in, because this is the step where that fear starts to kick in. It's easy to make a list of the things that you need to do. It's easy to identify what it is that you want. It's easy to identify why what you want is important to you. But the challenge, honey, the challenge comes when it's time to put the action into action, okay? When it's time to actually do what needs to be done so that you can get where you're trying to go. That is tough. That is where the fear sets in. All the planning and all of that stuff is all behind the scenes. That's all personal. That's between you and a piece of paper, or you and a computer, or you and a tablet. That's the planning phase of it. That's the part where you're doing the research. That's the soul searching. That's between you and you. You can do those things privately. No one has to know. But when it comes to the point where you actually have to take a step, where you actually have to put the plan in action, oh honey, now that's when the fear starts to set in. That's when your nerves start to rattle. That's when your hands start to get sweaty. That's when you say, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. You start procrastinating because you're not really ready to face that fear. You're afraid. And that's when all of the things that we talked about start to resurface and come back up. So how do you actually get to that point where you overcome it? And I'll give you some advice. This is what I did. You take one small step. So look at your list of the things that you need to do to get what you want or to achieve your goal or whatever it is. Look at that list again. Pick out one thing on that list that you can do. One thing. If your goal is to get that job that you've always said you wanted, the first thing that you can do is start to redo your resume. Or if you've already redone your resume, apply for one of those jobs. Write a letter to one of the companies that you want to work for. Research whom you would need to talk to at that company. Just do something that you can put in action that's taking a step towards where you want to go. Set up an appointment. Make a phone call. Have a conversation. Set up that meeting. Send the email. Write the paper. Take some sort of an action. And then after you take one action, then commit to taking another one every day. A small step every single day. That's how you accomplish things. See, the reason that we get so overwhelmed and we get scared of the rejection is because we're trying to take on too much of it all at one time. Sometimes your mind goes from, I need to write the resume, to, oh shit, what am I going to say in the interview? Well, you haven't even applied for the job yet. One small step. Don't overwhelm yourself trying to do too much. Don't start overthinking, because that happens too. Just do one small step every day. It takes time, and that's another thing. You have to learn how to be patient. Okay, so queens, if you take some of these steps, it will absolutely help you. Now, the e-course that is on the website is learning how to manifest what you want. So that kind of ties into this topic of what we're talking about, going after what you want, learning how to overcome the fear of rejection so that you can stop allowing that fear to hold you back and prevent you from getting what you want. If you want to get deeper into that and really get down into the nitty gritty, because there's so much more behind it that I just can't get to in the podcast episode, but I'm telling you, queens, if you take a look at the e-course and you go through that, again, do it on your own time, do it at your own pace. If it takes you a week to get it done, that's fine. If it takes you 2 weeks, that's fine. There's no rush. Try it out, because it really, really, really helps. A lot of these things that I've experienced, some of them I've overcome. Some of them I'm still in the process of overcoming. Some of them I overcame it 5 years ago and then reverted back to some bad habits and had to redo the shit and relearn the shit all over again. And that's life, and that's how it happens, and that's okay. I don't want you queens to think that I'm preaching because I have overcome the fear of rejection. Queens, I feel afraid of rejection every day. Every time I try to take a step, every time I attempt to do something new, every time I jump out there, every business that I've started, I'm afraid of what people will say. But the thing about fear being debilitating and fear being motivating is if you allow the fear to motivate you to change, you just feel the fear and you do it anyway. That's the only difference in some people who overcome fears and overcome rejection and the people who haven't. Everybody feels it. Everybody feels the fear of rejection. I promise you. You are not alone. You are amongst millions of women who fear rejection. Don't let all those pretty faces and those IG models and those badass bodies, don't let all that stuff fool you. They all fear rejection. Me too. The difference is feeling the fear and doing it anyway, finding the courage to do it anyway, realizing that you want something bad enough that you're willing to risk hearing people's critiques, hearing people talk shit, hearing the haters say whatever they have to say. You're willing to go through that because what you want is more important than what the fuck they have to say. That's what it's all about. So I am done preaching for the day, honey. I love y'all so much. I'm so glad that you queens are here listening to the season premiere of season 3. I am super duper duper pumped about all of the wonderful content that I have created for you queens this season. This is going to be the best season yet. So make sure you subscribe to the All Queens Army podcast so that you can get a notification when episodes drop every single Monday. Also, make sure to check out that website, okay? I didn't make it for y'all to just be ignoring it and shit. Oh yeah, and make sure you read the blog, okay? Because I write them myself with my own little fingertips and my own little keys on the keyboard. I write those blogs to motivate my queens on Thursdays, okay? So you don't have to wait until the following Monday, all right? And last thing, if you're not following All Queens Army on Facebook or Instagram, make sure you do that, okay? I love you queens so much. I will talk to you on the blog on Thursday and on the podcast on Monday. I love you queens. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the All Queens Army podcast. If you want to connect with Breizy Time and the All Queens Army, be sure to follow them on IG and Facebook at All Queens Army. Or head over and check out the All Queens Army YouTube channel. Until next time.